Story 1. Honestly, same situation, different decade. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, but now with better virtual reality pornography. Story 2. Definitely not. The impact of climate change will at that point be inescapable, and people will be just realizing how much they have been lied to by fossil fuel companies and their purchased government representatives. It will also be too late to do anything about it. Story 3. I think it will continue the trend of decline and decay in politics, society, and ecology. I think there will be an increasing number of natural disasters with increasing severity. It is only a matter of time before the Florida Keys have to be abandoned because it is no longer safe to live there. It is only a matter of time before coastal erosion destroys New Orleans. Admittedly, I do not think the last one will be an issue in the 2030s. Story 4. Certainly not. I see climate change, biodiversity loss, the rise of radical right-wing autocracies, and the risks of artificial intelligence. Add all of that up, and we are heading for a massive disaster. Story 5. I doubt, frankly, geopolitics will remain stable. It is only a matter of time before a powerful Western nation and a nation in Asia engage in a proper war, leading to forced alliances globally, effectively starting a small-scale Cold War between nations. Biodiversity loss will continue. We will still fear nuclear threats and neglect research and development of sustainable, mass production of hydrogen and its safe storage. I also suspect some unusual disease outbreaks that might surpass COVID-19, Ebola, and SARS in severity, due to melting ice caps and exposure to ancient diseases we are simply not equipped to fight. Terrorism originating in the Middle East will either decrease or escalate to unfathomable levels, depending on how the situations in Israel-Palestine, Iran, Egypt, Syria, and Lebanon unfold. Climate change will worsen, and I can foresee cities becoming 10 to 15 degrees warmer. In metropolitan areas in my country, average peak summer temperatures have risen from 32 to 33 degrees Celsius in the early 2000s to the mid-40s. Winters are gradually becoming shorter. Artificial intelligence will either disappear entirely or trigger a class war due to increased job losses and the rich becoming richer from its use. Societal collapse is happening in real time. Our attention spans have diminished. We rarely interact with people outside our political beliefs and biases. Empathy and kindness are becoming rare, and tolerance and understanding are declining. This is being accelerated by social media. Hopefully, Donald Trump will pass away, and there will be a complete declassification of the Epstein files, where some revelations will change the trajectory of artistic industries and business institutions altogether. Story 6. I think the 2030s will be some of the worst decades in a long time. We will start seeing artificial intelligence take jobs in real time. The job market will be very chaotic. Our music, art, and even movies will slowly start becoming generated by artificial intelligence. By the turn of 2040, this will be the norm, and the world will know that today is a thing of the past, sadly. Story 7. There are two outcomes in my opinion. Either the world decides that enough is enough and implements major reforms for the greater good, or a full-scale World War III occurs and we are all wiped out. Story 8. I think climate change is going to really start ramping up. We are already experiencing record-high temperatures, irregular weather patterns, increased flooding, historic drought in normally rain-heavy areas, and devastating storms. The 2030s will see this start to affect our food supply more and more. It could be due to soil erosion, flooding, drought, or pests and blight, but you will see stable crops like corn, soy, and wheat, the crops needed for livestock, become harder to produce. Costs for food, especially meat, will skyrocket. If you think grocery costs are bad now, get ready for even worse. Start learning to grow your own food and preserve it. Start learning to appreciate tofu and plant-based burgers, as more people will adopt a plant-based diet out of necessity. This is good for the environment, but too little, too late. This might spur some action to stop releasing so much carbon into the atmosphere, but the current administration's policies are going to be devastating to any kind of real progress. The Environmental Protection Agency is going to be gutted, with more and more restrictions on pollution repealed. They are already creating a system where even a Democratic administration will be powerless to try to put them back. The proposed Environmental Protection Agency rule rescinds a 2009 declaration known as the Endangerment Finding, which scientifically established that greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane endanger human lives. If the previous administration is able to repeal the endangerment finding, it would not only erase all current limits on greenhouse gas pollution from cars, factories, power plants, and other sources, but also prevent future administrations from trying to tackle climate change with lasting implications. Thank you to big business and billionaires, and especially the Republican Party. You have harmed humanity to a point we may not be able to recover from. Story 9. Definitely no. Increasingly erratic weather, concerning both with or without acknowledging global warming and sea levels rising. Exploding debt, instability of the United States dollar. When automated driving is normalized, unemployment will rise dramatically. Artificial intelligence continues significant downward pressure on employment. Continued hyperpartisanship and a post-factual world. Today, this is a combination of algorithm-driven information creating echo chambers, the for-profit news practice of sowing division for profitability, and intentional disinformation by bad actors. There is no fix for this on the horizon, and it will significantly worsen as misinformation becomes easier to manufacture. We have no way to believe what we see anymore. Whether acknowledged or not, our institutions of democracy in the United States and the West have been significantly eroded in recent years. This is dangerous and could have significant implications in the 2030s. Warfare has changed drastically through drones and automation. This exposes even the most secure countries to attack. The more populous the world becomes, the higher the risk of a global pandemic. The next 20 years scare me deeply. Story 10. I am typically a really negative person, but I do hold out some hope for the near future. There are a lot of good technological advances happening, and I think that once the old guard of unpleasant oligarchs passes away and we bring in younger leaders, they will be more inclined to embrace changes that make sense. I could be wrong, but I have some unexplainable faith in the generation that followed me. They might figure it out, if only for their own children. Story 11. Inflation will rise, and things will become even more unaffordable than they already are. Companies will shrink their packaging, gas will be more expensive, and rent will be impossible. Suddenly, all those people who used to think government support is free handouts for the lazy will need to rely on it to feed their children. Those who laugh at the homeless or want them in jail will miss a paycheck and be stuck living in their car until it breaks down. Not only that, but people will hate each other even more. Story 12. I think things will be worse for the average person over the next decade or two. There will be systemic changes to the current world order, but it will start to settle down by 2050. I hope to see that, so I can die knowing my grandchildren will live in a better world that is heading in the right direction again. I also hope that my loved ones and I make it through without personal tragedy. It is not looking great. Story 13. The bubble that has been growing larger will finally burst. When that happens, war, climate change, and current political trends will be our doom. Story 14. In the United Kingdom, I think the 2030s will be very challenging with all the migrants arriving. Does Sir Keir Starmer really think the economy will be able to withstand all the financial support programs on top of all the other difficulties occurring as well? Story 15. Well, considering how determined we are to learn nothing and fail an open notes test, history will probably keep repeating itself. Story 16. It depends. Many baby boomers will pass away, which could ease economic and housing pressure depending on immigration trends. We also need to consider potential actions by Vladimir Putin in Europe. Story 17. I don't know. World War II started in 1939. The influenza epidemic was global from 1918 to 1920, and 100 years later we had COVID-19. I would not be surprised if the United States defense ego continues to inflate and we upset the wrong people at the wrong time by the 2030s. Story 18. The United States economy will face significant challenges by the mid-2030s. National debt will exceed income. This will lead to increased printing of United States dollars, causing inflation. Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid expenses will also exceed income. State pension funds will be insufficient to cover obligations, as they have been underfunded for years. States will request the federal government to cover the shortfall. Artificial intelligence will increasingly replace jobs. Human taxi and truck drivers will be replaced, affecting related industries such as truck stops, restaurants, and hotels. The only positive aspect is that the United States is in better financial shape than most other first-world countries. Story 19. Humanity as a whole has deteriorated since the earliest time we know humans appeared on Earth. We like to say we are civilized now, but is a country that is willing to drop a nuclear bomb on another country really more civilized than an uncontacted tribe? Story 20. Everything is uncertain. This push for authoritarianism in the United States, Russia, Europe, and other places might be a brief moment in human history before artificial intelligence brings about a new golden age. Alternatively, it could persist after current world leaders are gone, with artificial intelligence making the situation much worse. The situation is frightening because billionaires have won battle after battle in class conflicts and may have already won the war. The West experienced a similar period in the late 19th and early 20th centuries during the Gilded Age, when many people suffered. Hopefully, things will improve, but so far the outlook remains bleak. Story 21. Finally, a question on Reddit that caters to me. I have thought long and hard about this. The years 2030 and beyond will be a mixed bag, to be honest. Technology will be more advanced. Artificial intelligence will be everywhere. Most new cars will be electric, and remote work will be the norm for many jobs. Some industries will disappear or shrink, but others will grow, especially in technology, green energy, and healthcare. Housing will probably worsen in many cities. Climate issues like heat, flooding, and fires will start forcing people to move. Mental health might decline if we do not figure out how to manage the pressure of being online all the time. Politics will still be messy, but younger generations will have more influence, which could shift things somewhat. Entertainment will become unusual. Artificial intelligence-generated music and games that adapt to you will become common. So it will be not all bad, but not all good either. Much depends on how we handle things in the next few years. Story 22. No. It will be the decade we start seeing serious consequences from human-made climate change, the rise of far-right fascist governments across the world, and wars for dwindling resources. So much to look forward to. Story 23. He was met at the gate of Hades by the guardian of the lost souls, the keeper of the unavenged. And he did say to him, "Let you not pass, Abaddon. Return to the world from whence you came, and seek payment not only for your own anguish, but vindicate the souls of the unavenged." They placed in his hands a sword, made for him called Vengeance, forged in brimstone and tempered by the woeful tears of the unavenged, to carry him on his journey back to the upper world. They brought forth their demon horse called Black Death, a grim steed, so fearsome in might and black in color, that he could stand as one with the darkness, save for his burning eyes of crimson fire. On that night they, Story 24, hope so. I think it will be similar, but pendulums will swing the other way. Hopefully, the teenagers of today will fix some of the problems their parents created. Fixing one thing, however, creates new problems. It is like a giant Rubik's Cube. When something goes right one way, it affects something else negatively. Does that make sense to anyone? Story 25. It depends on how fascism develops and how artificial intelligence progresses. If artificial intelligence replaces a large portion of the workforce and no social programs are established to support those affected, then the 2020s will seem like a joyful era by comparison. Story 26. I think they will be radically different from now due to artificial intelligence. If we can figure out control over artificial intelligence, then it is good times ahead. Many of our jobs will be gone before we retire, and that is just a fact. This may be an issue, but I am not sure. Story 27. I don't expect anything in my lifetime to get better other than medical advances. I thought when COVID-19 happened, the recovery after would be a moment like World War II when society reset and things were made better. But no, it just made everything worse for everyone except the ultra-rich. If even that wasn't a catalyst, it will take something absolutely horrible that won't resolve in my lifetime to fix things. Story 28. The way we are going, I think we are on course towards either 1, a major war between the world powers, or 2, civil wars erupting in some Western countries. Story 29. Quite frankly, I think we are on track to repeat the 1930s. I am glad I cannot get drafted anymore. I will also definitely use my dual citizenship to avoid having to be in a war zone or go to a war zone. Story 30. Worse for most people everywhere except maybe China, if they can avoid falling into the neoliberalism trap as they assume global leadership. Story 31. No, global warming will make life more difficult until we take action. Eventually, it will stop food production. Story 32. I am hopeful we are at a tipping point of the absurd wealth, power, and corruption that the elite have greedily obtained. Maybe we will see change soon. Story 33. I hope I can still make my first feature film under these difficult circumstances in the world, without artificial intelligence, of course. Story 34. We will face a lot of the consequences from this decade, just like every decade does. There will be growth and there will be setbacks. Story 35. Honestly, who knows? The year 2030 is 4 to 5 years away. A lot can happen in that time. All you can do is remain optimistic. Story 36. With artificial intelligence becoming more advanced every year and the artificial world we live in today, I do not see things improving. Story 37. The 2030s will be significantly worse than this decade. Authoritarianism will continue to increase in the United States. The climate crisis will worsen drastically and will interact with authoritarianism. Additionally, artificial intelligence will cause significant societal issues. This may seem pessimistic, but it appears to be the most likely outcome. Story 38. No, artificial intelligence terrifies me not in a Skynet way. 50% of office-type jobs will be eliminated, and millions of people will be unemployed with no options. With the current administration doing everything in their power to eliminate social safety nets, it will make the Great Depression seem like a pleasant summer vacation by comparison. But then, I am an optimist. Story 39. I hope the pendulum will swing strongly to the left and be progressive in a time when technology is going to truly amaze us. Story 40. I'm not scared of this comment section's pessimism. I'm scared of this comment section's confidence. Anyway, given recent trends that actually exist, someone might start reeling back fossil fuels and make fossil fuel advocates a laughingstock. Someone will be put into power who will try to handle artificial intelligence in a way that no one gets hurt too badly. A bunch of weak countries in Africa will get huge boosts. There will be that one guy, most likely an American, who decides to challenge the rich. He was just like all of you, so he wants what all of you want, and he really wins, starting a second progressive era. Then, when the United States does better due to that, a bunch of other countries with similar problems will say, hey, let's try that same thing. This sounds like the very early 1800s. Also, the United Nations gets together to have an actual chat about global debt for once. People will then look at us now and laugh at how politically naive we were. We will orbit Mars but not land on it. We will discover a bunch of new medicine, and it will be obvious and make us feel stupid. Because of improvements, hopefully the birth rate crisis will reverse, and we will have a stable population. The population might still crash eventually, but at least it will be somewhat better. All in time for Grand Theft Auto 7. And hopefully Vladimir Putin dies, and his lame excuse for an empire falls with him, making Russia better. I don't have any Russian blood in me, nor have I ever stepped foot in Europe in my life. But come on, what is that thing? Story 41. Every year, approximately 40 million people are lifted out of extreme poverty. In 1990, 38% of the world lived in extreme poverty. Now that is 8%. The change, with the exception of recent pandemic years, has been linear, meaning that extreme poverty may be eliminated by the end of the 2030s. Story 42. With the economy like this and ongoing conflicts around the world, I think it is going to be worse than it is now. Story 43. No, the major powers of the world have doubled down on climate change denial, and even if we overthrew them tomorrow, we would face many severe problems. Droughts and famines, massive superstorms, and huge wildfires. It is going to be bad. We must prepare to support each other because the plan is to abandon us all. Story 44. The weather is only going to get worse. Also, start reading about life in Russia or China. That is what it will be like. Story 45. Considering all of the artificial intelligence developments that will come, I think it is only going to get worse from here. Story 46. It will be good if I am dead. Then I do not have to face the consequences of other people sending this world to hell. Story 47. Our artificial intelligence overlords will produce poor content, and we will have to accept it. The collective group will criticize us for not appreciating it. The 2030s seems likely. Story 48. People tend to exaggerate the negative. There have been much more troublesome times in our history, and things got better. The 1860s political division and civil war, the 1930s Great Depression, the 1940s Nazism, and World War II. To me, climate change is uniquely scary though. Story 49. The Chicago Cubs will win the World Series again in 2030, but I am from St. Louis, so I am predicting that it will be a terrible year. Story 50. At this point in time, who knows? It could be a revolution or tyranny, with very little margin between them. Or we could have accidentally caused everything to go wrong, and none of it would matter. Story 51. Yes, I will be retired. My children will have full-time jobs. I will be a grandfather. I will wear those grandfather undershirts and muscle shirts. It will be awesome. Story 52. Probably not that much different. Let's be real, how different is life now compared to 2015? Sure, cars and buses look a bit more modern, but it is not really that much different. We have had a pandemic, and that changed life a lot. Conflicts have started, others have ended. The Western world is still anti-Islam. People still go to their 9-to-5 jobs or to university. The same buildings mostly. We have better mobile phones and better hardware in our personal computers that are capable of handling much more. What else? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.